during this. This hangout on air is live. Woo! So welcome everyone to this edition of the Young Adult at Heart Book Club. This month we read Bayou Magic. Oh, glare! Look at all the glare. Can't have glare on this cute face. Bayou Magic by Jewell Rhodes. It was so pretty. And actually, this cover is super pretty. I love it a lot, and I love her face, and I love that she's very like almost photorealistic. But there's also the ebook cover is super pretty, and I am disposed to love it even more because there's a mermaid tail like straight up on it. Where I was like, yes, sell me the book with the mermaid tail on it. So there's that. So hi.
Can I?
Yeah, you can. We can totally see it.
See? Yay! See, there's the mermaid. Mermaid, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought I'd help.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim. So hi, I am Jennifer, and then everybody else can introduce themselves.
Okay, I had the ebook. My name's Kim. I'm a youth services librarian at a pretty large library system in Connecticut, and I also work on the bookmobile. And I'm going to assume there's more than one bookmobile in Connecticut, but I don't actually know. That's it. And I've got wine.
I'm Crystal.
Oh, we're out of practice.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm Crystal. I'm a high school history teacher in Connecticut, and I don't have wine, but I have a giant thing of ice cream that I won't share.
I'm Abby, and I'm a children and teen librarian in Connecticut, and I am drinking ramen iced tea from a mug because all my dishes are dirty because I'm a grown-up.
Best way of adulting. Honesty, brutal honesty. I am drinking seltzer, lime seltzer, because I am a boring adult and they were, super on sale at Costco. And so that's how I made my decisions. I was like, yep, this multi-pack is coming home with me for the bubbly water. But yes, so I am Jennifer. Again, I am the head of a youth services department at a library in Connecticut, formerly of the Midwest. And so all of our love and our well wishes to Mylene. We miss Mylene tonight. She is off adventuring across the globe, I think. Yeah, I don't know if she's left yet. I hope she has good travels. And we miss her. So, but yes, I'm excited to talk about this. Was actually my pick a very long time ago. I feel like I called that we were doing this one. And I just finished the book not that long ago. So
Kim, you accidentally gave me credit in your Goodreads review. You said that I had picked it, and I was like, "Oh, I'd love to take credit for this, but this was definitely Jen."
there were mermaids.
Well, you know what? Because I went back in the in our chat, and Crystal, you posted a picture of it, so I was like, clearly that means that she'd picked it. Going. But yeah, I'll addendum. Right now I have a broken cork with my wine bottle, so you guys carry on while I deal with this sadness.
Tragedy.
It's fine. I'll fix it.
Okay, you got this. So yes, do we have general impressions? I think has anybody read anything by her before? The Ninth Ward or Falling Towers? I actually think I'd be more likely to read her other, the genre of this one definitely grabbed me. I tend to be the person that either picks our sci-fi or fantasy titles because that's what I tend to be, or graphic novels because that's what I tend to be drawn to. Was this my first non-graphic novel pick for this group?
No, you picked the first one. Ash.
Which was a super gay fantasy book. So yeah, all of these are very true to form. So yeah. So these are so I was super excited about this book because not only mermaids, but I knew from chatter from other teen and young adult and juvenile, middle school professional people, that there were not only mermaids, but black mermaids in this. And I'd never seen anything with a black mermaid. And then it became kind of a personal quest. And now I'm collecting things with black mermaids because there need to be more of them. And
she'll say something to our chat and I'll be like, "Did you set a Google alert?" But no, just on a quest.
I just have no, it's all just, naturally sourced, not Google's algorithm sending them to me. Yeah. So and I liked how this book treated the mermaids. I thought that they were cool. I thought that everything my in general thought about the book is that it was like a really slow, like almost like it was going to be a series build. Like it was like a very slow build. And then everything happened in the last like 90% of the book. And I was super like overwhelmed and really emotional. And I was like, what is happening? Why are people? Oh, and so this is not a spoiler free zone. We need to start saying that. I need to start saying this at the beginning. This is not a spoiler free book discussion. We're talking about the book in fairly explicit detail. So if you haven't read it and want to not be spoiled, this is not a safe space for you. This is a dangerous plot of land where we talk about the fact that Bear's dad died. What? I was not emotionally prepared for that at all. So anyone else with general or very specific impressions?
Okay, I gave you guys like a good like 5 seconds to get yourselves together. I fucking love mermaids. I fucking love them, like, so gosh darn much. I think I was with you, Jen, when I was like, oh, too bad I can't swim. And we were like, it's because I don't have my mermaid tail yet. Duh. Like, of course I can't swim. I have 2 legs, like Ariel when she got like adultified. I absolutely loved this book, and because I had the ebook, I loved that cover. There is like a certain beauty in the hardbook cover because, as we all know, like it is really rather difficult to find a book with like a brown-skinned person on the cover. Like it's always silhouetted or like blued, like there's some weird hue on it, so you're like, maybe, I don't know. But to just like outright have like a giant brown face, we're getting there. Like it's a slow process, slower than it should be in 2017, but like hats off, like people are trying. But so I did like that cover, but I had the cover with the mermaid tail, so yeah. But I was a big fan of the book. I read it a couple weeks ago, so I'm probably going to depend on my own review to help remind me of certain specific things. But I was really taken by the portrayal of the South of the book and like their woodsy adventures. So I'm not from anywhere, so let's reschedule that. My dad is from Mississippi, so and it's nothing like, there's no bayou, like we weren't from there, but there is a very specific tone that comes with being from that far deep in the South, and I thought that she nailed it, the author. I really did. The scene where they have like the big cookout and like all the neighbors are there and everyone's like bringing their little bit of what they can to contribute, like that's a thing. Like I've been at my grandmother's houses, people have just shown up with things in their hands, and then there are 20 people and a giant neighborhood dinner, and that's thing that happens. I really, really enjoyed it. I was 100%. I read this whole book in a day, like in fact, a slow bookmobile day. So I just like plowed through the book, and I really enjoyed it. I do agree that the ending was very abrupt. It was a very slow build as main girl, Maddie. That's right, same name as my sister, and I didn't like it. My poor sister, whatever, she's fine. It was like as she, became ready for like the big reveal at the end. But I will say, and I'd love to hear if you guys disagree with this. The end, like the oil spill and like whatever, and then Maddie came through her revelation. She knew how to fix it, and then I thought it was rather abrupt. I mean, we had this slow build and this beautiful sort of like flowing wave, through the story. And then, we've got the end, we've got this oil spill. I thought that as beautifully done as an oil spill can be. That's a horrible thing to say, but, just sort of the community involvement and things. But then it's like, oh, I know how to fix it. End of book. And I was like, man, I could have, if there had maybe been a few more words like a chapter and a half, that would have been lovely. But I overall really, really enjoyed this book, and my branch doesn't have a copy of it. The main branch does, but you can best believe at next book meeting, which is Wednesday, we will be purchasing a copy of that book that I will hand to every little girl in the world. So I was a big fan. So 2 thumbs up for me.
I also really liked it. This is one on Goodreads that I would have liked a 0.5 star. I probably would have gone like a 4.5. I loved the way that her lineage was handled. Like, I loved the family history part of it. I love that they talk about slavery in a way that's really personal to their family. And I think that that's a really important thing for kids to be reading about, and not just like slavery is this like blanket thing that happened, but to remember that these are people, and these are people that are not far removed from their classmates and not far removed from, you know, individuals that they're meeting in 2017. So I thought that part of it really stood out to me as a white person that didn't read a lot of books with characters of color in general. I thought that was a really important story, and I connected with that. And then like the magic part was cool too, but that part of it I thought was really, really great. And I think a really important story to be told. I would agree that I think the end was a little abrupt. The part of the end that I didn't like is I didn't like Bear's dad dying, and not just because it was heartbreaking, but because I thought it was unnecessary. I don't know. I think with everything else that was going on, I think them having this like abusive relationship and that whole part of it could have been enough tragedy for that character. I don't know. I guess it's hard to say that it's ever necessary for a character to die, but I just felt like that was a little much. And not just because I was like, oh my God, I'm unprepared for this, you know, but just because I don't know. I just didn't think that part, I think it would have been just as good if that hadn't happened. So that was kind of my thoughts about the end. I kind of liked that she came into her, it was slow that she came into her magic slowly, and that was kind of like the culminating piece. I don't know what more they would have told us, because I don't know that I want to know what she's like back in New Orleans. Like, I'm like, no, I only like her here. Like, I like her here. This is her place. So I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts.
So I agree with everybody. I really liked it a lot. I listened to the audiobook. The narrator was wonderful. I should have pulled it up so I could name check. One moment. Anyway, so I really enjoyed the audiobook. It's 4 discs. It's very short. It moves quick. Sorry, I can't type and
I'll pull it up. I got it.
Oh, thank you. I really liked it. I agree with what everyone said. I always really like a book where like we're going to grandma's for the summer. Like, that's like a middle grade trope that I'm really into. Like, it's summer and you're going to grandma's, and grandma lives on a farm, or grandma is like a weird magic firefly lady. Like, I'm into it. Cool. Any book where we're going to grandma's for the summer, unless they're boring, which those can be. This was not boring at all. I agree that the ending was really abrupt. I liked it. I liked the messaging, but I think it was kind of like 2 books. It was like this like environmental community building message in the last like tiny amount, and then there was this really slow burn of the whole like magical realism. And I think I would have liked either of those parts if they were explored more fully. If it was like, this is a book about a girl discovering her magic, or this is a book about a girl, even if it was magical realism, but like helping her community in a time of need through her magic. But I think the combination of the two, the pacing just wasn't there. I think, Crystal, I agree with you about Bear's dad. And I think the reason why is another kind of like little pacing thing, because he comes back, we find out he's abusive, and then there's this like whole redemption arc within like 2 chapters and you're like, oh, I didn't like him and now I like him and now he's dead. Like it was just too fast and you didn't spend enough time with him. I mean, you spent more time with him liking him than not liking him or like being concerned for Bear or whatever. But because it happened so abruptly, I didn't like trust it. And so I think I already kind of knew something bad was going to happen. Either he was going to be more abusive again or like, so I just think it wasn't necessarily as surprising. And I agree that it wasn't totally necessary, although it did amp up the drama of the oil spill. But an oil spill is really dramatic in general. So I agree there. I would have liked a little bit more consistency in the magical parts as well. I felt like it would be like magical part, non-magic for a while, and then like another magical part. And that the end, like with the like confluence of mermaids or whatever, seemed a little also out of nowhere. In like a, not that I dislike a Deus Ex Machina, but like, I don't know. It was a little, I had a little bit of trouble with that as well. And I think it's because the ending just happened so quickly that I was like, oh, okay. Millions of mermaids? Sure. Okay. I was on board when it was 1, but like dozens. I don't know about that. But sorry, I'm talking so long. I also agree.
Skeptic. That's what you are. You're a mermaid skeptic. Have you?
No, I'm on board with the mermaids, and I agree that the that it was so nice how they kind of explained her existence in a really culturally significant way. I thought that was really cool. But just like the magic seemed a little, I wanted more of it, I guess, and then I wouldn't have been so skeptical at the end, I think. Anyway, I'm nitpicking though, really, because it was fantastic. I liked it.
I like so since you mostly saw the audiobook, and I think they were in the ebook, Kim, but I'm not positive. They had these cool like woodblock chapter headings that I don't know if, so I pulled up, so I had 2 that I really super loved. And so that's the house, which was really cool. And they're not different for every single one.
Those were in the audiobook. I just want to like confirm you. Go ahead.
They were not in the audiobook. They were in the ebook. I didn't see those with my ears. I
using book. I've had a long day.
Look at that little mermaid tail.
Isn't that pretty? And so there was
like on my body.
Yeah. No, they're like super, super beautiful. And then I really love there was another one that's this like one of their making.
That's funny. You guys pulled up the same kind of one.
Which
hers has a different chapter heading.
Yeah, they repeat them.
Oh, they repeat.
They're all different. I must say that I did love. This is going to be really small, but I was a big fan of Bear's overalls. Yeah.
Wait,
yeah, I was a big fan of the overalls because they spent the entire time in overalls. Like, I'm pretty sure Maddie wore the same pair of overalls all summer, but I'm assuming that Grandma just like washed them every night. But when I saw of course she did. When I saw the overalls, I was like, success.
Did anyone get the feeling that like there was also a dropped like dementia plot line from Grandma? Because there was like 1 or 2 scenes where all of a sudden Grandma didn't know what was Grandmère didn't know what was going on, and I was like, I cannot handle. Because I think it was even after Bear's dad, one of them was, and I was like, I cannot handle an abusive dad and an dementia riddled grandmother. Like I can't handle it. I'll turn the book off. But,
I thought,
but then it kind of went away.
Yeah. No, I thought she was gonna die. That's where I thought that was going. I had this moment where I was like, Maddie's gonna come into her powers, and that's gonna be it. She's gonna know that like the line is secure, and that there's someone that's gonna carry on this magic, and then Grandma's gonna die. And that's what I was like really bracing myself for. I was like, and like, Maddie's gonna find her, like something terrible is gonna happen. I wasn't thinking that the terrible thing was gonna be with Bear's dad. I was thinking that something was gonna happen with Grandma, and I'm kind of glad that it didn't. But that's what I was preparing myself for.
I was with you, Crystal, except I didn't think Grandma was gonna die. I thought Grandma was gonna like forget everything. So like I thought, and so it sort of kind of read for me that as the more Maddie learned about her power, the more confused Grandma got. So like the build was like the slow burn was kind of there for both of them. So like, you know, when Maddie heard, and just another like hats off to the history component of like how Mommy Wata, because that's exactly how I read it in my head. I don't know if that's how the audiobook said. They did. I was like, oh my God, Mommy Wata. And like, it didn't even like, I didn't even need a minute to figure it out.
Or is that?
It's spelled exactly like that, and like MAMIWATA, like that's how it's spelled. And I was like, "Oh, Mommy Wata."
And I loved how Bear's dad called her Mommy, like MOMMY water, like Mommy Water.
That was also reflected in the audio.
They nailed it. I really appreciated the historical aspect of that, of like, you know, how there was like this woman, you know, in Africa who I kind of pictured as like Storm as a preteen from X-Men, you know, like, which would be heartbreaking, but it's like preteen Storm who like controlled all the things and like had it all together, had been like put on a slave ship and then just sort of like quit and gave up. But Mommy Wata's like, I'm here, here's a firefly, don't you understand? And Storm's like, no, I don't. But, and I kind of like that too. Like, I kind of like that this historical character whose name is unfortunately escaping me, quit and gave up on all of it. But it seemed like the more Maddie learned, the more she figured out when she saw the mermaid hand in the water. And I just about cried, by the way, when she saw the mermaid face. I think there were tears because she was like, I didn't know that mermaids could be brown like me. And I was like, I didn't either. I didn't know. It really just like tapped into my like 11-year-old, you know, Black little girl of like, no one looks like me. Why? It really tapped into it, but without being so overwhelming and so downhearted, because she like wasn't upset. She was just like, oh, this is a thing now? Okay, this is great. What's happening? The more Maddie learned, it seemed like in very slow levels, the more confused Grandma. I think she slept walk at some point, and I was like, Grandma, get back in the house. Twice, yeah. So I thought that Maddie was gonna like come into it and fix the oil spill, and then when she was like, Grandma, blah 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 blah, Grandma would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I haven't a clue, and like maybe call her by her mom's name or something. Like that was what I was prepared for. That like Grandma would just like forget everything because she's passed her knowledge to the next generation, and she would forget. I know, guys, this is where I was at on the bookmobile, and that she would forget this like the slave character had like forgotten and stopped bleeding. That's where I was at. I was feeling rough. I was feeling rough.
Membe is that character.
Membe, thank you.
I'm glad that really didn't happen. Well, I mean, like she did start to lose her memory, but at the end it didn't seem like she totally didn't know what was going on. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because that would have been rough. And I also like that Grandma like acknowledged that, like, because she's like, does my mom believe? And she's like, no, but like she knows. Like she's like, she knows, but like no. She's like decided that she doesn't.
So, and also like kudos to Mom for like that very like casual, oh, you're a hero, like everything's cool. Also, like you just like let your like there was an oil spill and you didn't get your kid, like you left your kid there during an oil spill, which I guess
sure there was a phone call, you know, I'm helping wash pelicans, they need me here.
I don't think they had running water in that house. I don't think they had a phone.
They could go to a phone, telephone somewhere. Someone has a phone.
It was just like a really casual response. It was a really casual response from, I would love that chapter of this book. Anytime there's a library.
I would love a few chapters. Can we talk about am I the only one who like teared up a little bit when she called all the fireflies? I was really feeling this book, guys. I was feeling it.
I had to keep being like, you're driving, because I listen to audiobooks in the car and like be like, shut it down and like not feel the feelings. And also I got that stupid Firefly song stuck in my head at that point, and then I was like, oh, I'm annoyed that this is a good
song. I like that song.
It played when I worked at Staples, like it was in the rotation, so it's ruined. So that's actually how I kind of like stamped out my emotions in that scene. I like started singing that song in my head.
Okay, Jen, so I just like, resident mermaid believe. Like, there are mermaids. I just like, I'm gonna isolate the fact that like I am a cold heart. Like, not even just like I hope. No, they're fucking down there. We've only explored like 30% of the ocean. Like, get out of here. There's something farther down there. Okay, they're mermaids. They just don't come up here because they know the humans are trash. So that's fine. So they've learned.
And we are. It's true. So it's fine.
True. We like throw shovels.
They'll dissect you. It's just hide. It's cool.
Yes.
I get it.
And I want that mermaid pin. Sorry, moving on. But like, while I wanted to love the end where where she was like, oh, the mermaids can fix, and I'm honestly, I can't even remember what happened. Did they like cover a hole? I'm not sure what she sent the mermaids
They built
do.
a levee. They built like a dam inside of the water to divert it from that specific bayou. It
sounded like they were blocking it with their bodies. And I was like, what is happening to these poor mermaids?
All these mermaids now.
This is why I have trouble with audiobooks, because I picture better from a written word than a spoken word.
Yeah, no, I was a little, I mean, maybe they did say they were building levees. Like, I was fine with the fact that suddenly a million mermaids appeared, like, mostly. Like, that was fine. I was like, fine. Because you started to see a couple more. Like, I think she saw like a light brown, like maybe like someone who with like white hair. She saw Storm. She saw Storm the mermaid. She saw Storm the mermaid in the water. So like that, like, you know, like I was like, cool. She's, you know, she's coming into her own. She's seeing all the mermaids. But the fact that we had like, you know, the forest runs, and we'd had like the boats, and they had hunted for the mermaids, and she made sure that Bear was really like squad goals, even though he hadn't seen the mermaids. She's like, I need you to believe me as my new best friend. And he was like, okay, I do. Like, all of this stuff happened, and then she was like, I can fix it. The mermaids fix it, and then it was over. And then she went home, and I was like, if you could have just done anything else. And that's where I would have liked the extra book. Maybe she turned into a mermaid. I don't know. She went down there and helped or something, because she's like the Pied Piper of mermaids. Like, she could have gone, because she could breathe down there before, right, guys? Like, that's the extra chapter and a half that I was missing. She could have gone and, you know, and like helped, but she didn't. And
I also
got in the car and went home.
In how I think that there could have been like a book without the environmental aspect, even though I liked the environmental aspect, when the first time she swims and is like pulled down, and it's like scary at first, but then she's like, oh, I can breathe, it's fine. I wanted to see where the mermaids lived, and we didn't get to see where the mermaids lived. But why didn't we get to see where the mermaids lived, or that mermaid lives?
So, and like, I get practically why that doesn't happen in the movie Splash, but there were no budget constraints in this book, and I don't know why we didn't get to see the under, especially because like, and like we never really answered the question whether they prefer saltwater or freshwater. It seems there's both going on there, and I want more details.
How am I gonna know where to look for one?
She lives in the middle part. This particular mermaid, and that's the thing. I wanted to know how this mermaid was culturally different from the other mermaids that I've encountered in the past. I get to see how other mermaids live underwater. Dang. Sorry.
I had a lot of strong mermaid feelings about this book as well. So I loved her introduction. I also like teared up when she saw her face, and she was like, she just like very specifically described the skin tones of the mermaids, and I loved that she described the lip colors of the mermaids when she's talking about all of the mermaids when they come, and she's like they had red lips, and they had blue lips, and they had brown lips. Like, she like very specifically.
Lips matter. They do. Oh my god, I love this. Keep going.
It was great. That was so that was super cool. But yeah, like I absolutely wanted to see their homes, wanted to see mermaid home life, and that's why I was like, can I please get a book 2? Can I get next summer? Can we just do the summers?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because also you could see because it was obviously like the area around was going to be affected by the oil spill, and like they were going to be affected even if it wasn't like as bad as it could have been because of her rescue work with the mermaids. So I was like, so that would be such a good, like, I need a book 2. We should start a letter writing campaign for more Black Mermaids, and possibly a movie adaptation because they didn't show under the water, and so some beautiful child could be Maddie, and another beautiful child, because also she was a young girl. Like that was like she was young like her. Like she saw her as like, and obviously she was like extra special in magic, Mami Wata, but she was young, which was cool, and that there were also old mermaids, and I was like, yes, mermaids of all shapes and sizes, yes. So it was deeply satisfying. But yeah, it seems so greedy when there are so many books where they pretend that there are mermaids and then there are none because of imagination or illusion, like just psychic breaks or psychotic breaks or whatever reason they give for mermaids not being a real thing in the books. But there weren't, I mean, are there ever enough mermaids? I don't know. I wanted more.
I also liked that she was like, here's what I had the thought when you said next summer. And we had like a chapter, or I don't know, it's hard to tell chapter like when chapters are in the audiobooks, but like 1 or 2 chapters of her at home before she came, and like hearing about her family. And I don't believe that she's above being a little smug to her sisters that she's magical and they're not. And I would love to just see her be like slightly smug because they were like really rude. So it'd be nice for her to just be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, and then like a million fireflies are like around and they're like, what's going on? I'm confused. There's bugs in my hair. Like that would be kind of fun. Like a little slight like baby Matilda moment, where like she's just like, okay, well, I'm magic, so chill.
Sorry.
You go.
I also really liked the very human aspects. So to counter all of the mermaid talk, like I loved when she was cooking with her grandmother. Like I loved and how specific they got about that, and how that kept coming back up about how all these, she talked about it with the mermaids too, like they're all a little different, and she talked about stew and jambalaya and like these different mixes of things, and I thought that was kind of cool. But I loved that very real familial connection. Kim, like you were talking about in the region, so like as a community when they were all coming together, but also the fact that with her sisters, when they were talking about their visit, they were talking about it being so boring and their grandmother being like so weird and all this stuff and kind of scary. And then immediately, even before any of the magical stuff, like their connection was just so strong. And I thought that was really, I liked that build. I know it was a bit of a slow build to the magic, but I thought that foundation was really like A+, really important. And it was really nice.
And her interaction with the chickens was like no, Crystal, what happened?
I'm on an iPad and it fell over. Sorry. The chicken, Sweet Pea.
Yes, and how she described Sweet Pea, and she like engaged with Sweet Pea, and then she talked about the contrast with the other chicken, and she was like, they're not like Sweet Pea, they're busy, they don't pay any attention to me.
And that's
so cute.
She knew, she's like, she wanted me to say thank you, like I just know that and then you're like, yeah, oh, you should, you just took something from her, she gave you something, you should thank her. And then I think that came back up again too, that did she thank the mermaids, or she thanked a bunch of people, and I thought it was like so nice, and they thanked everything. I don't know, it just was very sweet. And it was
that it was the shrimp on the boat.
Yes, the shrimp on the boat.
They had everybody, and she had everybody on the boat thanking the shrimp on the boat. And then it was later, she goes out with, and I forget who in the town it was, but she goes out fishing so that she can make the whatever fish dish for Bear after his dad has died, and she's trying to cheer him up. And she goes out fishing and she thanks the bug that she puts on the hook. And I was like, it really is so sweet. And part of that is that environmental arc. Did you guys read, or were I think it was the author's notes that were included at the very end? I don't know if it was included on the audiobook or not. But
I don't remember.
She talks about She says, Maddie is a symbol of hope and my personal praise song for all young people who care about being good stewards of our air, land, and water and the earth's natural resources. And so I also thought that part of it was really kind of cool too, when she's talking about, like, this is where our food comes from. And there was that very real connection, whether it was the eggs from the chicken or whether it was the shrimp or whether it was that they were fishing. That connection to the earth and the, like, kind of helping tell that story too, which I think can get lost on kids that may not experience that ever. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I thought that was so cute. Her thank yous were so cute.
And similarly, she described, feeling more in touch with like the surrounding environment, like the Bayou, as opposed to being in the city and not feeling that same connection. Like you go on field trips or you read about it, but it's not the same as like experiencing it firsthand. So I thought that was a really good point as well.
And I think am I unmuted? I don't know what just happened. And then I think I loved how I feel like there was a lot of thought put into this character, like Maddie because I have always my entire life been an extrovert. So like I try and pay attention to stories, and like a lot of children's books with magical main characters tend to be, again, like extroverted, or at least like forced extroversion, but that's not Maddie's power. Her power is in asking, and her power is in listening. And I thought that was such a cool, thoughtful piece of that she has to, that it's her grandmother like pays attention to the fact that she is a listener and that she is paying attention. And I thought that was a really, especially for like especially for a little Black girl, like I think that's really cool to kind of be like, hey, if you are Maddie, that's okay, and that makes you special. So I don't know, I loved Maddie. I thought that she was fantastic. So as a really quick aside, I had a really beautiful moment with a child in Indiana who's one of the only Black girls in this grade that I was talking to, and she saw this book that I had brought with me for a display, and she was like, that looks like me. And I was like, it does look like you, because even she had like natural hair, and I was like, it does look like you. And she was like, I should read that book. I was like, you should absolutely read that book. And it was supposed to be first come first serve, and somebody else had asked, but I was like, child, you were getting this book first. That is what's happening today, because that is why I purchased this book for you. Yeah, it was like, and so I'm sad that I never got her review on it, but I hope that she liked it as much as I did, because it was so lovely. And she was the same one that I had the really fabulous discussion about how it's really terrible when books are like, oh, it's a magical world, and then it's like, again, spoilers, it's like Bridge to Terabithia, and it's just sad. And you're like, no, none of this, there was no actual, what do you mean there was no, how dare you? So
I don't remember anything about the magic not being real in Bridge to Terabithia. I have not read it. I watched the movie while I was babysitting, and I was crying sitting behind the kids watching the movie. And I think I just like repressed any memories of the actual plot because I was like crying at work.
Yeah, Bridge to Terabithia is like pretty big. I didn't read it either, but I did watch it, and because I hadn't read it, I didn't know. So I'm watching and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And then death and destruction and fakery. And you're like, none of it was real. And now there's dead children. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But you said, Jen, I think everything you said was on point. Like, none of you are ever going to believe a single thing that I say, but like my mom will back me up that I was a very like shy, introverted kid, like as a kid. And I would try to like cover up my shyness by being kind of precocious, but like I didn't quite make it. So I just looked really awkward. And I was like a very like shy, awkward kid, which probably came from moving around a lot at those young ages, like bouncing from school to school and like state to state, where you never quite get your feet under you. I was not an outdoor person, unfortunately. Like I might have been a little bit more like Maddie's sisters. Like, wait, there's dirt, there's bugs. I can't be part of this. I blame my mother for giving birth to me in Oakland. It's all her fault. But Maddie, there really was something very special about her. And I mean, you definitely get a taste of it you know, when she like thinks, she did think everything, like when she thanks the chickens, and when she asks her grandmother if she can cook, and grandma's like, you can cook, and she's like, yeah, I cook with mom all the time. But I think where I really saw it, like her first moment to, in a big way, sort of stop and make a decision, and have to make that decision based off of everything that she was taking in around her, was when Bear showed up for the first time. And like that was the first time that their comfortable home routine had been broken, because I believe that she stayed with grandma for like a week or so before Bear showed up. And he shows up and grandma's like, go play. And Maddie really had to stop and sort of take in this new boy, take in her surroundings, decide if she really wanted to break this sort of like beautiful system that she and her grandmother had established and do something else. Like she really had to like take a beat and decide if this was the thing for her. And even if she had decided she didn't want to go out and play and she wanted to stay with grandma, which would have like been sad because they are squad goals, but it was sort of the act, like she really, like she looked around and realized this would be the first time that she set foot off the property. Just like something, and I think I did put this in my Goodreads review and on my blog, something about the way author had Maddie take in her surroundings and describe her surroundings in very simplistic ways. And I think I sort of like gave a little like nudge to Stephen King. It takes Stephen King 19 chapters to describe anything. But like, you know, Maddie, you know, she stopped, she took a beat, she took in her surroundings. There were some like, you know, very simplistic, you know, words of imagery, but told you everything. And then she made her decision and went from there. And that really is something very important, because like, you know, like as a someone who was a little Black girl and is now a Black woman, you are kind of expected to be big and bright and like loud and like this. And when you're not, people are like, well, what the fuck is wrong with her? And that starts at a young age. And Maddie was like, I need a minute. And I'm going to take that minute and then we're going to go from there. And she did that for everything, before getting on the boat, when like army crawling in the woods. Like she was like, I need a beat. And she would take her beat and then she would go. And like, it was done so slickly, you know, like I think as adults and as librarians and as teachers and as professionals, we see it. But as a kid, you're just going to read it and you're not really going to know what's happening. But you will walk away from this book and from that character knowing that you have permission to take a minute and not have to be what the world tells you should be, which is what Maddie did. She was not her sisters. Her sisters were their own thing, and she was never that person. And I just, if I could buy one book for every child, particularly every like Black child, not just brown, but there's something about being a Black girl, and give it to them, I would. And maybe I'll tweet Michelle Obama because I feel like she'd be on board. But like, go ahead.
I was just, as you were kind of going through that, I was looking at that section where she meets Bear, because I read the first half of this book a couple weeks ago and then finished it today. So I was like, what does happen when she meets Bear? And I was looking, and part of it is also in those moments and in her quiet is when you really get that connection with the landscape. And she talks about the natural magic of the bayou, like the bayou being alive. And she talks about hearing the different animals and smelling the different smells. And that's something that, like, I think those natural magic pieces, you have kids that are going to connect with that too. Like the kids that like being outside and that like that maybe don't experience that quite as acutely as Maddie does in this story. But I think that there's something to be said for the magic, and whether you believe that it's magical magic or just that natural magic that exists around us. And she definitely taps into that in that moment too, and in that quiet. It's funny that Jen, as you were talking about her being a more introverted character, I hadn't explicitly made that connection, but the more we're going through it, the more that makes sense. She even at one point, and I'm trying to remember what it was, she talks about maybe it's when Bear's dad comes over. It was sometime where she talks about that she really had a good time, but she felt like everybody was talking too much. Or maybe it was when Bear was helping her and grandmother cook, or like he came over and they were singing instead of just humming. And she was like, I just feel like it was too loud. She definitely talks about it at some point. And I'm like, oh yeah, because she is introverted. Like she needs the quiet. Like she needs to recharge her batteries that way. And I hadn't really, again, kind of almost like reading like this, like I am also 11. I didn't explicitly pick up on that. But I think that you're right. I think that there are kids that are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm that way too. And that's really awesome. So,
and that, sorry, go ahead.
I like that the description of being introverted though wasn't like, I hate people, because she's like an empath. Like that's why it takes a lot out of her. She likes interacting with people and she's good at it, but it can't be all the time. And I also liked those deliberate decision moments, because like the first time with Bear, she ends up going because she really trusts Grandmère, and Grandmère invited him, and she knows that she could say no and she wouldn't be disappointed or anything. They would just carry on and it'd be fine. But she realizes that she makes the decision partly because she's like, oh, we're vibing and she wanted this and this, so I'll like it. She trusts that she'll like it. But then later, when Grandmère's like, don't go find Bear, he has stuff he's working on with his family, just leave him be. And she goes against it, and she thinks about everything she's taking in. She goes, no, something's not right. I have to go see my friend, and goes anyway. So even though like at the beginning it seems like, oh, maybe she's making this decision for her grandmother, it's really just like using the information of what that she's given to make the decision. And then later, even though her grandmother's saying one thing, she's like, nope, I know something's wrong, I have to go, and is right. So I noticed that in those like deliberate decision making moments too, that she thinks about what other people think, but then trusts her gut.
And like her superpower, her ability to communicate with mermaids, is because she's an observer and she sees what other people don't see. Like she sees, like, other people have seen Bear after his dad grabbed him and he's wearing those long sleeve shirts in the middle of summer, and she's the one who goes, show me your arms. She's observation is directly, and like Bear can't see the mermaids that are all around them. Like other people can see the fireflies, I think, but Bear is with her looking at the water and cannot see the mermaids, because that is her superpower. It is being a quiet introvert. And I just was so pleased. And even though that's not me seeing myself in a character, it's so just awesome to see it in this character.
It also made Bear so endearing because he couldn't see them, but they went out. It was like a month or something that they were out and they were looking for them, and he went out with her every day and was just like, no, I trust you, and I know that you saw them, and we're going to keep looking, and it's fine. And even in his moments of questioning, are you sure you saw them? He goes, I believe you. It's not that I don't believe you. I just want, I want to be sure, or whatever. So he has, I think those moments of questioning are more, are you going to like drive yourself crazy looking for these mermaids? Not that I don't believe and don't trust you. Because then when she was like, yes, I'm sure, he's like, all right, well, let's go. We're going to find them. Like, it's fine. And I thought that was really, their friendship was very endearing. Their squad goals, Cam, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Just to bring this back, Kim, you said like you're not outdoorsy. And then you brought up the like outdoorsy imagery. I'm also not outdoorsy, but like I do love an overall. And I was like, am I missing out on something by not like going out in the woods in overalls? Did I miss something as a child?
I feel like it too. I never army crawled in overalls out in the bushes. And I feel like I'll never get that back. Like, and I'll be an adult with an adult brain.
Like go out in the woods, even though I know I would hate it. I was like moved to like hike in a way that I normally am not. I was like, I need to go commune.
Yes, you need to go for
the natural world. But also like, I know that once I get there, I'd be like, okay.
There's still mosquitoes.
What I'll say for both of you indoor ladies is both of you can rock an overall. Like that's what I gotta tell you right now. Is like inside, outside, whatever you're going to do, both of you look good in an overall. So you're welcome for that.
That was perfect. I lost it. I lost it with the overall comment. Oh no, okay, so I do remember. So the only, aside from how compressed all of the action was, there was no falling action. That was my big, it was very abrupt, the falling action. There was a lot of rise, a lot of holding at craziness happening, and then a very short and abrupt fall, I'd say. But the
Bayou sex machina.
Very much so with the mermaids. But even with that, like there was no days, like there was the terrible oil explosion and leak, and then it was that part, the leak was kind of resolved but not fully. Because
it was a day use but no ex machina.
Yeah. There's goddess mermaid. But I think that the spike in like tension and like fallible adults with Bear's dad was, it wasn't necessarily out of place, but I also was just like, when she was the person who was like the agent of change in that relationship, she was 10 or 9. She was 9 turning 10, wasn't she? So she was like,
I think she had her birthday. Like, I think, oh no, maybe her birthday happened during the oil spill.
But didn't she turn 10? Like,
I think she was turned 10 during the summer.
So she was really little. And I think she was like true to being really little. But I was so anxious for her when she was in that house. And talking to the parent. And I know that sometimes like the intervention happens, however the intervention happens, but I was just like, oh, bud, like I need to go get an adult. Like,
but also the grandmother addresses that. She's like, oh, we all as a community F this one up. But maybe I'm glad you dealt with it, but maybe next time try and get somebody on board with you first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was like a good message, so people aren't like, oh, I have a friend in crisis, I need to fix it literally myself.
Yeah. Like
they did say, maybe get a grown up.
Yeah. I don't know if that I was too busy being anxious still right after to have caught that. That's very potentially why I did not catch that. I was just like, oh God. And then I think after that point, it was really sudden. Also, I really liked how kind of like abrupt and jagged the writing got right after the oil spill, because she was too tired to write and observe to the level that, or it was like snapshot observations instead. And I really liked that because it was very much like she was in crisis and she was talking about the birds and the death of the birds.
Was the formatting different, like page wise, like the layout or anything?
Yeah, I'm going to try and find it.
Because that could be also why I didn't, because I wasn't seeing white space. I was just hearing that, so.
That part I actually listened to, so I don't.
Here, if you
am I big on all of your screens?
Yes.
Yes.
So it had little like swishies.
Okay.
Can you see it? That kind of broke up those sections within the chapter. So it was like paragraphs.
That would have helped.
But it was disjointed. It was 10 days the oil still isn't capped, and then talked about, today's my birthday. So her birthday happened during the spill. There's no party, no cake, I don't mind. 10 means change, energy, luck. It's a sign maybe today the oil will be capped. I wait and I hope. Then the next one is 20 days. There still isn't.
Can I just say that I was looking at that exact same page. I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, but yeah, and it's like I wait and hope, period. Like that's its own line. So like, yeah, it doesn't look any different if you're just glancing at and flipping through the pages. It looks like the rest of the book. But when you're reading it, like yes, it is literally like screenshot of this, screenshot of that, screenshot of that.
I listened to it and I got that I listened to a lot more audiobooks than
I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I have trouble with like sometimes like I liked this audiobook. I liked listening to it, but sometimes
she was so good. I pulled up her name. Bonnie Turpin.
Yes, Bonnie Turpin. Stellar.
Yeah, and she was just incredible. And she's from Michigan. I didn't know that.
That was cool. And I guess I did notice now that you read part of it out loud that it did feel like I felt the repetition of those however many days.
But she was also doing a lot of acting during that. Like she seemed.
Yeah.
And
so
also,
I still thought the pacing, I had trouble with that pacing, just in general.
I think that like it was, I think I would have been Kim actually, and I love your observation about how her coming into her knowledge about stuff and her grandmother's kind of decline happened at the same time, because I took so long to read it that I didn't catch that, because I was, do you know what I mean? It was very similar to like, oh, you see someone that like the opposite of you see someone every day and you don't notice the changes. I feel like if you read something all in one go, you get a much different feel for the book.
I read the whole thing like on a bookmobile day where it was like summer camp was over, so there was like not a kid to be seen. And you do just like as she goes up, like Grandmere's kind of like slide. It's a slow slide. Like they're both slow slides, slow slide up and slow slide down. But and that might have also been part of the reason why the end felt so abrupt. But I don't think it was. And speaking of author notes, yeah, you're right. Speaking of author notes, I believe in the author notes, the author mentioned like a real oil spill that happened or of a bayou due to an explosion. And so because I also did not sort of vibe with, I had so many feelings about Bear's dad. I really did. Like, obviously he was an abusive person. He was hurting his son, like, period. Like the end. But you did begin to feel, I don't think sympathetic is the word, be empathetic, because he was hurting his son. From what the words we got, and please correct me if I like missed something, if I was like just hoping for a shining star but like missed like the black grossness. It seemed like he was hurting his son when he was loving him too hard. Like he would grab a hold of his son's arm because he was afraid that his son would leave him. And not because he's trying to hurt him.
And Maddie talks about like he's holding him like that. It was too firm of a hold.
Yeah.
Maddie very specifically, every time she talks about him after he's basically sobered up, about how gentle he is because he's so of size.
Yeah.
I'm mad because I had a fan cast in my head for Bear's dad when I was reading it, and now I can't remember who it is because I didn't write it down.
I pictured drunk Bear's dad like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, like that, and Bear was like the bunny, except like it didn't. I know, except it didn't get like as far as broken bunny neck, but like that's I pictured him more as pitiful, like his wife left and blah blah blah, and he's drinking, and the drinking is the problem. Like you need drink some water. You were literally surrounded by it. Like that was the problem. But so, Bear's dad goes from this villain, but not like a biggest of big villains, like on a scale of 1 to 10, he was like a 7.5, maybe not even a half. Because he was hurting his son, and that pushes you way high, but not to be malicious, but like, I love you so much, I can't lose you, which is still, but, he was making conscious steps to deal with his problem once Maddie just called him on his shit. Like, Maddie called him on his shit, like, in a really, in the way that an introverted 9-year-old can. And then he dies. And so the dad dies. And the author mentioned this oil spill. And while I was like, okay, okay, that including the natural disaster part, like you mentioned, Abby, it could have been 2 stories, and it really could have, like we could have had like Fern Gully, or we could have had like something else, mermaids, like the 13th year. But it clearly, including this oil spill was important enough for her to like mention it in the author's notes. But just the same, like in the author's notes, they said that oil spill, there were like 3 survivors, and in the explosion in the book, there were some people who they hadn't found yet, and some people who they knew were dead. And like, I really held on to a long time, but like, why did Bear's dad have to die? Like, I that kid has it rough anyway. He's literally living on his own while his dad is gone for months out of the year. Leave my squad alone. Like, leave my squad alone. I really struggled
that
with
also
the unnecessarity. That's not a word, but unnecessariness. That's not a word either. Of that.
I agree with that. And I think part of it was that it just, every turn happened too fast. And so you didn't get enough time to like feel your full feelings before it changed. And then also that was another part where I was really reading as an adult, and I'm like, so this kid's just alone in a house for extended periods of time with community members leaving food on his door. No one's there like say, come stay with me. What? That was a little bonkers. I was like, maybe they have a regional school. Where does he go to school in the school year? What's going on? I really struggled with that revelation that there was nobody else in the house during that time period.
Where's his mandated reporter?
Well, I think that the mom leaving was fairly recent, wasn't it? It was like within the last, not that long ago. So I think it was like a recent development.
I didn't that, like, it wasn't like that summer. I didn't get the impression of. It seemed like it had been at least a while, because it had been a couple of trips, I think, of him going to the rig and back.
And also the dust in the house, I think, indicates that that was terrible. I was like, not that it's like mom's job to clean up, but I think it indicates the fact that
the neglect of the house.
The neglect of the house, that there's this one adult, and that one adult is away often, and a kid isn't going to have that same kind of meticulous level of cleaning up the house. So I think that there's something to the fact that the house is disheveled that indicates that pretty much Bear's been on his own for a while.
Well, and also that the entire town, the whole town knows. Like, they know what's happening with Bear and his dad. So, I mean, think about how long it takes, for an entire community to pick up on something that's wrong. Like, it's not going to be the first time something goes wrong. It's going to be like the 8th or 9th time that they've seen this kid in long sleeves, and that they've heard yelling from the house or crying or whatever. Like, it's going to be a while. So, I mean, I would guesstimate about a year and a half that Bear's mom had been gone. And while that's kind of not a long time, like, when we're looking at how long we've all been alive, like, it's long enough for all of the mess that had happened in their house and to Bear and his father.
Well, and I don't know. I just like, it was all like really sudden and really, but like the story also needed that build in the beginning of it. Like, I wouldn't change anything about the beginning of the book. And so I get that to have all of those different things go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I think that she had specific things that she needed to have happen, and I just needed some of those to happen in book 2. Like, I
would have been fine. I am not a person who likes books where nothing happens. This is a book that I would have been fine with nothing happening in, and we just spend the summer with her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if that is, book 1, or if it's just a standalone, I am generally not into the whole, like, this is just description and like we're spending some time with these. I'm like, I need some plot. But I would have been fine with this one if, like, literally, like, she was like, oh, I saw a mermaid, and then, like, the book was over. It was weird because it was like there was like one mermaid mention per disc, and then in the 4th disc there's 50 mermaids. And I think that was another thing, because I had like a quantifiable, like, I got to the end of disc 1 and we've like maybe seen a mermaid, and that's when I started to get paranoid that there wasn't going to be a mermaid in the book. And then we got to the end of disc 2 and I'm like, well, there is a mermaid, but this is taking a while. And then in the 3rd disc, you're like, yes, mermaid time. And then in the 4th disc, you're like, everything is going wrong.
So this would be the perfect. So I actually bought you all mermaid stickers, and I'm going to give them to you eventually. So I'm going to go grab them while you guys talk, so I can show people them because spoiler, Miley and I bought you mermaid stickers, and I'll mail them to you in California at some point. But that would be I would like at least one person with their mermaid stickers to indicate the amount of mermaid sightings per section of the, it would be the book in quadrants. Okay, I will go grab them. Hold on.
What mermaid sticker?
While Jen is getting the mermaid stickers, you, Abby, you just reminded me of everything that I felt. Neither of you were there, I don't believe, but everything that I think you've heard the story of when Jen, Hannah, and I went to go watch a play that we thought was called The Big Voice God or Merman, and that wasn't how it was pronounced. Because I spent the entire time waiting for mermaids. I'm like, waiting for the mermaids, It's going to be mermaids, a big voice god or mermaids. And then we hit halftime, we hit intermission, and they're going on a boat. And I'm like, they're going on a boat. Here come the mermaids. And Hannah crushed my dreams and be like, no, honey, it's not. We read it wrong. It's not god or merman. It's God or merman, as in Ethel Merman, and there will be no mermaids. And I was crushed.
That's my favorite story.
Absolutely crushed. But like everything that you were saying, Abby, just reminded me of that moment, except like I didn't have the excitement of all the mermaids at the end. I had 2 guys in a keyboard and not a mermaid to be
and vibrato.
Presumably. There was plenty of vibrato, and there are plenty of stories of Ethel Merman. But there was not a tale to be seen. So
I'm a liar. One of these are tattoos, and then the other ones are stickers. And so I'm gonna have to rip them up and divide them up. But so here are the tattoos, and if you will notice.
There are black people!
Yep, there are black people. There are black mermaids.
There are black mermaids. I'm so happy.
And that was actually not even so. And I wish they had this girl. And this is the sticker set. And I really wish that they had this girl on the tattoo set because not only are they're shiny stickers. They're amazing. There's natural black hair. Look at her. Isn't she cute? Kim's like crying.
Send me that one, please. She's green. I want it, please.
And then these ones their faces are a little deformed. I think it's an art style choice. This is also stickers, but
mermaids come in all shapes and sizes.
Do you see these faces? They're a little oval.
I like them. They're weird.
Send Abby those.
I'll take the deformed ones.
So I only bought the mermaid sticker sets with mermaids of color on them. But that is what y'all get.
Ring my
we could
doorbell
do a little shopping guide for this to go with this one because we found that dope Etsy store.
Oh my God. There's an Etsy store, my friends. our one follower, which is probably someone's mom. It's probably my mom. Hi, Mom. But it is.
We have followers on Tumblr that might appreciate a shopping guide.
That's true. There's like a lot of pin makers, independent pin makers that do. There's a whole like group of them that have Mer friends. That's what that one that I just sent it to Kim. And they do a set, and each of them gets a different color combination in each of their shops. So that's what like the mermaid that I sent with the green with the green.
Yeah, with the
and then there was with the blue or white hair. That was the bottom of like the yin yang kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they're sold in separate shops.
Oh, we'll do a
collect them all. That is what we will do. We will
shopping guide, a mermaid shopping guide.
So that's basic. I think at the conclusion of this is yes, we will compile a mermaid shopping guide for you all. So thank you for watching. We're not entirely sure what the next selection is.
Oh, is it me?
Yes, is it you? Yes.
I don't want to commit, but like maybe we'll do Miles Morales, but I don't want to commit to that right now.
No commitment.
Kim, you're gonna read it anyway. You're muted.
You are muted.
Yeah, I am gonna read it anyway. We got an advance copy that's floating around.
It was really, really good. But I might also want to pick something that I haven't already read, so we'll see.
Thank you all for watching. This is Young Adult at Heart signing off. Mylene, we missed you, and I will send you some stickers and maybe a tattoo. Maybe I'll cut these up so we all get some of them. All right. Bye. How do I make it stop being live? There we go. Confirm. Oh, no, Helen. I think. No, I'm going to end the broadcast. It's happening. I have to end the chat too. I'm sorry, guys.